Hello, welcome to the December 6th meeting of the Kennebunkport Planning Board. For attendance, we're all here. The full board is here. So you guys down the end don't get to vote, sorry. But anyway, the first step is the approval of a couple of sets of minutes, one on the meeting on our last meeting and one on our site walk. So, any comments on either of those?
I'll make a motion to approve both sets of minutes.
I'll second that.
Okay,
Approved.
approve.
Approve.
Okay. Thank you. Now, the agenda, item number 1, the Wilds District subdivision has been removed from the from today's meeting as it's postponed at the request of the applicant. So if you came for that, I'm sorry, we're not going to talk about it. Which brings us to item number 2, which is item number 231003, 14 and 24 Field Point Road, Walsh Engineering. Mr. Walsh, this is a public hearing. You presented this last week, probably best to give a recap for the audience. And,
okay.
And we can discuss it.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Bill Walsh with Walsh Engineering. I'm here on behalf of Timothy and Linda O'Neill, the Timothy J. O'Neill Revocable Trust and the Linda D. O'Neill Revocable Trust. The O'Neills own a piece of property that is off of Field Point Road. They own actually 2 parcels, 14 and 24, that are off of Field Point Road. Obviously, abutting the ocean is to the right side of the screen, if you see that. Image sort of turning 180 degrees. That's the cottage in the background, and you can see the erosion that occurred. I think these pictures were in March, but you can see the erosion that happened behind the revetment. So it apparently came up over the revetment and washed that out. Next slide, please. This is down in front of the cottage. The cottage would be just to the right. This is a walkway that goes down to the cottage, and you can see those stones got blown up. In this area, you go there's that cobble beach that we were looking at before, but it transitions into a bedrock situation with some overburden, some soil overburden in it, and It's probably, it varies, but I would say it's in the 3 feet to maybe 18-inch range that overburden exists. But that all got pretty well knocked out in this space around the cottage. Next slide, please. So the proposed project is to put in a larger boulder revetment on the face of the shore, and that's what's represented in the purple there. As we're in the area of the cobbles and where we have enough depth, if you will, and we don't hit bedrock, we'll take that and bury the toe of that into the ground and put larger stone. As I said, we'll reuse the stone that is there, but we're going to supplement it with much larger stone. And I think it was in the 7-foot range, I think is where we ended up. So we're going from 2 to 4 foot stone up to about 7-foot stone, which is what we've calculated to be the required stone size. Down towards the bottom where it says boulder pinning, it's vertical on the plan, if you will. We know that we're going to have to actually pin the boulders to the ledge, and this is pretty typical of what we do on these projects. Is we put these boulders in along the way. They're pinned and epoxied into the ledge below them. We obviously have to find competent ledge, which seemed pretty competent out there, but we drill holes, put bars into rocks, epoxy them into rocks, and then drop the rocks down on the hole that has epoxy in it. So what that does is it helps the stones from kicking out in the large storm events, so that the stones get lighter when the water hits it, if you will, and moves it around. These help to stabilize those stones. Yes, they move, but they don't wash out on them. We don't have quite as much friction in the stone or the ledge situation. Down at the very bottom of this picture, where it's green and purple, there is an existing wooden retaining wall, I'll call it, retaining structure. It runs probably from the left of that purple up to about where it starts to turn the corner, not quite that far, but there was a section of this wooden crib seawall that was put in, which is proposed to be replaced with riprap. Next slide, please. These are cross sections, again, sort of explain that situation of how on the top would be the cobble beach and where it would be excavated out. Stones sort of buried, if you will, a little bit into the beach and stacked up behind them. And then the bottom picture, bottom right, shows the pin. If you can see that lighter gray boulder, that's where they would be pinned in, and that helps to stabilize that toe and keep it from sliding or slipping out. Next slide, please. This is this is just the plan set. So I think that is really the project they'd like to get going this fall, or this winter rather, if at all possible. Kind of the best time to construct these projects typically is when the ground's hard and frozen, and it seems like we're getting there quickly. And they are hoping to sort of undertake that as soon as we could get through the approval process. So we do have to, we are in the process of a NERPA permit through the DEP, and we've submitted that and working through we actually haven't had any questions yet from the DEP on that.
Okay. So, Larry, do you have questions on this? Or?
Well, I do. I appreciate this, Mr. Walsh. Just a couple of items. Just a real easy one. One thing I noticed was in your list of addresses.
Yep.
The address you're showing for me is almost correct.
Okay.
Where you've got suite 19-332.
Okay.
It's actually suite 19-322.
I'm sorry, 19-322.
322. Yep.
Okay.
In Saco. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Then, so my understanding is you've got these two lots. You've got 14 and 24.
Correct.
That have different owners, even though they seem to be related,
Yes.
closely related somehow.
Husband and wife.
So my question really focuses on lot 24, which seems to be 3.37 of an acre.
Yes.
So it's non-conforming if you consider it on its own, right?
I don't know. I didn't
I think
look at
I think
that.
it's
Probably, yeah, probably is.
I think it's non-conforming. So in your application, you show a lot of things not applicable or not NC, I'm not sure what that means. But anyway, because lot 24 is non-conforming, it might be useful to actually show what the actual numbers are in terms of lot coverage,
Sure,
because that's how I'm gonna write it up that way.
okay,
And I mean, I can see what you're doing. I mean, it's obviously a continuous wall, but the fact that lot 24 is
Yep.
separate from 14, it makes a difference on the application, I believe, okay?
yep, I got you, so sort of list them,
Yeah. so
Separately, if you will,
It would be
right?
really useful.
Yep,
because-
gotcha.
yeah. And then, one thing I noticed was on drawing, this one here, C 1.1.
Okay,
You've got I think you've got lot 2 at 39,100 square feet, but, I mean, that's what it says there, but 0.37 of an acre is only 16,117 square feet, so if you could just reconcile
yep,
that number, I'd
Yep.
appreciate that.
yep, you're right.
And then, also, okay, then back on the application, so you've got the owner of record for lot 1 and lot 2, that's great, thank you, and then you got the address, but the phone number and emails, are left blank. If you could just fill that in, because I know that one of them, I think it was the one on lot 2, gave an email address but not a phone number, so
Okay,
basically just scrub the application and, just complete it, is what
Yep.
my fundamental request.
yep,
Then I had some more specific observations. Okay, well, you know what, you know my comments about stainless steel. So no matter what, okay, so my general comment would be, no matter which stainless steel is used, you should specify what it is. So my suggestion for duplex simplifies your life, you don't have to code it. But, that's my second comment, if you use any of the other 3 common stainless, 316, 318, or 304, you're gonna have to coat it. And I presume you're gonna use a fusion bonded epoxy.
yes,
Eventually that will break down, you'll get chloride stress cracking in that pin, so, anyway, that's just what's gonna happen. So
Yeah.
you might need to specify not only the type of stainless, I suggest duplex solves your problems, but
Yep.
also you need a coating spec. And of course, there's other coatings that are possible. I don't want to get into that, but anyway, I would say just specification on
Okay.
those 2 things. Then, also, I noticed on your riprap, you're showing a 1-to-1 slope. Well, the angle of natural repose is about 1.5 to 1 for aggregate materials, including this. So I know you can make these things steeper,
yep,
but they'll be inherently unstable, particularly if that pin corrodes,
Yep.
cracks. So I'm just saying, do you want to think about making it a little shallower, a little less steep, 1.5 to 1? That's just, you're doing the design, I'm just saying.
yep,
Then, could you show drawing 2.1 again? That was very interesting.
I think, there you go.
Okay, so
Yep.
I'm in complete agreement with your rock size.
Yep.
That's gonna be in the 7-ton range or something. That should be plenty big.
Yep.
Okay, but, my thought is, okay, you've got 2 things going on here. You've got a flood elevation, and thank you for using the 2017 FEMA maps. And so you've got a 17-foot base flood elevation for most of it.
Yep.
And then you've got a 25-foot one down there on the south, which it's going to overtop your wall. But then you also refer to a design wave height. Now, how does the design wave height affect does that go on top of the FEMA flood map? Because that would indicate you're going to have a 27-foot wall of water coming through there, from the east, or 35 feet coming from the south. I mean, I don't know if it makes so much difference, except it might be a lot more water than you're anticipating, which leads me to my other question. I noticed that behind the flood wall, your revetment, the ground goes down again. So there's going to be a tendency for pocketing of water. So do you need to add some drainage, some clear drainage paths as part of this? Because you're gonna get overtopping
Definitely.
definitely from the south and possibly from the east during the 100-year storm.
Yep.
So it's just a question of drainage. Is that adequately covered, you know? And I know you can solve that one. But anyway, that thought occurred to me when I was looking at this.
Yeah, the part on the bottom, the 25-foot, is
Yeah.
it's a tough one to overcome, right?
Yeah. Oh,
Unless
yeah.
they want to look at the back of rocks, right?
Right,
So, we're sort of doing what we can to protect it and bring it, kind of keeping it consistent at that 17. And
Sure. Oh, yeah.
I think we've had the discussions with the owner and they understand that flood zone.
I can understand the situation, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. So, let's see. Then, let me see. I think that's really it as far as my comments. So if you could just.
Yeah, we can clean those up. Those are
Yep,
pretty
appreciate that.
straightforward.
And then when you provide that updated, the updates, then I can finish the finding of facts.
Okay, we'll get those turned right around.
Great, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other comments?
I have a few comments.
Okay, please.
With regards to vegetation, I think you sent over
I did,
a
yeah.
great list. I have some questions about some of the things in that list for a shoreline like that. But there were 2 plants that were left off there that I believe are native. And I think they'd be good candidates instead of Rosa rugosa. And one of those is beach plum and the other is sand cherry. If there are deer there, you don't want sand cherry because I know they eat them, they've eaten mine. But the beach plum, they seem to leave alone.
Yep.
So, but,
Okay. Yeah, we can look at those. The idea is to probably reuse what's there to the extent that we can and then supplement it with new plantings.
yeah, but you might try a few of those
Right,
just to see how well they work. I know
Yep.
Rosa rugosa is okay,
yes,
but I've had it wash out on the shoreline too.
yep. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it can. It's probably the hardiest, but it all gets enough beating that it can wash out.
right,
Yeah.
right. Okay, that's my comment.
Okay. So, this is a public hearing, so if there's any member of the public who would like to speak on this topic, we would welcome that. Okay, any hands raised on Zoom?
There are no hands raised.
Okay, well then I will close the public hearing. So, Larry, how do we want to handle this?
Well, I think it's close enough. I think we can approve it, subject to getting the complete, just to fill in the blanks.
And which you need in order to read
Yeah,
an
to finish.
FOF on the 20th.
Yes. So if Mr. Walsh gives it to me in the next week, it's no problem.
Yeah, we can definitely do that.
I mean, I can do that if it fits the schedule.
Okay, so, shall we then take a motion to approve this,
Okay, I move to
subject to the updates?
I move to approve the application subject to receiving the updates, so I can finish the finding of facts.
I'll second that.
Okay, so.
I would agree.
Ready?
Yep.
Okay, yes?
Approved.
Approve.
Okay, so this is all set, but you have to give that stuff to,
I will get it. I'll get
to
it you.
Larry so that you can get an FOF read the next time.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, which brings us to the Mezouin Development Company to Old Cape Road Development. This is the final plan for for what we saw previously as a preliminary plan, correct? So, we should proceed.
Hi everyone, Steve Blake with BH2M. As the chairman said, we were here in mid-October, I believe, for preliminary review. We received preliminary approval in October. During the public hearing, the one comment that we got that we responded to was the location of the driveway, which we were previously showing on Old Cape Road for Lot 1. And we have relocated that driveway to Roberts Lane. So we're no longer proposing a new driveway cut on Old Cape Road. I can't remember if everyone was here or not, but it's a 3-lot subdivision, so we have lot 1, which we're proposing to build on, once we have approval. There's the out sale lot, which just has frontage on Roberts Lane. That's already been built on, but it's part of this process because that was done in, I don't know, the last year or so. So it's a 3-lot subdivision, but it's really just the one lot that we're proposing to build on right now. So we're here for final subdivision review. The plan itself is very similar, other than the driveway location, and we've also added the 3 waivers that were approved at the last meeting for high-intensity soils, hydrogeologic assessment, and stormwater management plan.
All right, Mike, I think this was yours as a preliminary, so.
Yeah, I wasn't at the last, but, saw the change of the drive entrance, and I think that was the major item. And I don't have any additional questions for
okay.
him.
Anyone else? Anyone? Okay. Well, so I guess this is, I guess,
Can I ask a question? I'm in a butter.
no, next time is a public hearing. This time is just a discussion.
You guys don't make sense.
I'm sorry, but that's the way it goes. Our process is to have a presentation followed by,
Documents and never did get the right one to go tonight. I just wanted to ask one simple question.
Our procedure basically is first there's an initial hearing, and then there's a public hearing. And you get a chance to basically make your arguments during the public hearing, or you can write a letter which gets to us, basically, and we discuss it during the public hearing.
and you can access it via Zoom.
You also have the opportunity to take the applicant aside outside of the meeting if that's something of interest to you.
Well, my only question is probably more broader than you
Okay.
asked.
And there will be a forum next week, week after next for that.
Yeah, so on the 20th, we will be having, assuming that we all agree that this is a complete application, which is all we're doing here tonight, is to agree that he's got everything in it in order for it to be worked on. And then next time, there will be a public hearing on it, and we will discuss it further, and hopefully you'll have if you could send in a letter prior to that we got, we would have it, and we could present it to him to discuss. That would be wonderful. Anyway, at this point, I didn't hear anybody on the board that wanted to make further information, so
Shall I make a motion?
please.
I'll make a motion to find this application complete.
I'll second that.
Okay. Ed,
Approve.
I approve.
approve?
Approved. Approve.
Okay, so we will have a public hearing on the 20th of December on this topic.
Okay, can I just ask one question about process? Is there potential that we would also receive final approval at that meeting as well, after the public hearing, assuming all goes well, or is that another meeting?
That's the way it often
Okay.
works that way.
Okay, great, that's great, thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay,
Who's the case manager?
all right. Oh, this is very speedily working along. The next item is item 231101, number 19 River Road, the Cape Arundel Golf Course.
And Mike's gonna pick up the case manager on that, Tom.
Oh,
is
yeah,
that what
Mike
you-
should,
Add that, yeah.
You okay
Mike
with
had
that?
it before, so he's already partially written the FOF as far as I know.
Yeah, I've got a draft.
Thank you.
There's a draft.
Okay, proceed, I'm sorry.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Phil Hesketh. I'm an architect with Dow Hill Architecture and Design, and I am the registered agent for Cape Arundel Golf Club, presenting the addition to the material storage shed. In the package of drawings in the application that I gave you guys, it is illustrating two different things I think I noted on the application, one of which was an addition to the existing material storage shed that is there on the site currently. It is a 20 by 14 addition. The siding will be metal siding, be a wood frame building on a concrete foundation. It will be heated, and water will be run to it seasonally. There'll be storage of chemicals on racking in there with a garage door on the front of it. The other part of the project that we're proposing is to relocate the dumpster pad, the dumpster enclosure, to like 90 degrees to the left of the addition onto the material storage shed as you look at it. One of the best things probably about this project is by adding on to the left end of the existing material storage shed with the addition, and relocating the dumpster enclosure. You'll be looking from the street entrance off River Road, in the current driveway now. Instead of looking at the dumpster enclosure, it will be turned 90 degrees and moved to the left. And there'll be a privacy screen on top of that foundation wall. So you'll see as you drive in the driveway, the addition onto the material storage shed with a garage door fully enclosed, matching the material and siding of the existing shed. And hopefully you won't see anything but maybe a small portion of the foundation around the dumpster enclosure and a privacy fence on top of that, so.
You want me to start? You want me to start? Comments?
No, please, go ahead.
Okay. I have a few comments on your application
Okay,
and what you're doing. I don't think it's very clear application,
okay,
and you need a lot more information on it.
all right,
There's no height listed on these buildings, and of course, Kennebunkport has a height restriction, so you should always have that in there.
okay,
You indicate this is not shoreline and resource protection, but actually that lot of land is in shoreline and resource protection zone. Okay, and for that reason, I think you need to, if you're not going to have a survey, and you should ask for a waiver if you're not going to have a survey, I think you need an accurate sketch of that plot showing the water bodies, and there are quite a few there. Bass Cove comes up and through there. You've got ponds as well. Are there any windows on this building? You haven't said.
the elevation clearly shows no windows.
Well, you need to state that.
Oh, stated on the
I
application, you
think it
mean?
would be a good idea for you to state it, because you're
Okay.
out in bird country there, and I think it's fairly important that you might have that in there. You have no assessor's card, tax map, basically, and the requirements on the application generally are you show something like that.
Is that the same thing as, the tax map that was like highlighted in yellow that I put there, or you're talking an assessor's card of the?
I'm talking assessor's card. It's easy enough to pull down right from the Kennebunkport
Okay.
site and put into there.
Okay,
You indicate that you're going to have lighting, and we have lighting restrictions in Kennebunkport. And because you're a conditional use, I think you need to show what lighting that is. And I think you'll find that with the lighting committee, you want to make sure that any lighting is facing downward, not upward.
right, as a cutoff lighting,
Yes.
okay,
You need to indicate whether there'll be additional parking in there. And I don't know, Lee, you can
Yes.
answer this question. Does he need to request a waiver for off-street parking and loading, even though they're not really changing it around very much?
Yeah, I mean, I would absolutely request a waiver.
Yeah.
That would just cover that issue.
I also think I would recommend showing where there's a group of trees. Since I'm in a butter, I walk that course all the time. There's a big group of trees, older trees nearby, and I think you ought to show on the plan where that is.
Okay.
It's not marked. And survey, you indicate there's no additional landscaping plan, but
Right.
there are large, I forget what you call them. They're soil, raised soil.
Berms.
Berms.
Soil
yeah,
yes.
Berms. And you ought to show where the berms are going to be around this new building as well. So I think it's just your sketch is very, very sparse.
Okay,
And to be accurate, we really need more information.
okay. As far as berms go, we weren't planning to put any additional ones. So maybe what you're asking is you just want to see,
I just want to see where everything is,
right,
so that, we
Okay.
can make an informed decision on this.
Right.
And so that the record shows that everything was there.
has been taken, yes, okay.
And you're not moving the septic disposal area at all?
Correct.
Okay, all right. That's basically what I have right now.
Thank you. I was very confused by the whole thing, trying to figure out where anything was. So I'm glad you had asked them to clarify it.
It's not too close to where Bass Cove has a little stream coming in, or a stream runs into Bass Cove, basically, but they do have some ponds around there, and there's a pump station and things like that.
Okay.
And if I might make a comment, although I should probably wait for the public hearing, I think you have a couple of attractive nuisances on that golf course in terms of your ponds. And on the little pond, as you go along the stream, on the little pond, you have a pipe that's about 8 to 10 inches in diameter,
Right,
where water exits into it. And I think that's big enough to lose an animal or a very small child possibly getting stuck, and that is running all the time. You might want to consider putting a grate on it. The other drain that's even more problematic is the one with the pond. Is it the pond? Yeah, that's closer to where you're going to do the construction. You have a drain there, and you have some grading over the top, but not underneath where a child could easily get caught in there,
okay,
or an animal. And you might want to consider putting some grading there just for safety reasons.
okay,
Okay.
That's her speaking as an abutter, not speaking
right.
as vice chairman.
I walk my dog there, and he's a little dog, and I worry, he goes down to the water. I worry about him all the time.
Right.
Okay.
And anyone else on the board?
Well, I had a few comments. Oh, sorry, are
Getting
you
there.
done? Oh,
No, go
sorry.
ahead.
I asked Ed.
I'm sorry,
Whatever.
I'm sorry.
I just wanted to clarify that the reason this has come before the board at all is because it is a conditional use. Is that correct?
That could be, we spoke with Greg Reed, prior to applying for anything or doing any
Right.
thoughts about the addition, and he said that it would have to come through the planning board.
And it didn't say why.
It's a conditional use. It's listed as a conditional use in village residential zone.
So that's the only reason I could see
Right.
that it came before the board, except as Nina's pointed out, there's some understanding I have that somewhere on the property there is shoreland zone, and
Okay.
somebody said resource protected.
Yeah,
I'd like to know where that is, and is it anywhere near the work that you're doing.
Right,
So if that could be clarified, that would help me out, because we'll look at it differently.
right,
Otherwise, we're really saying, you've already got approval and you've got a pre-existing conditional use,
okay,
and you're making a substantial change to it. And so we want to see whether or not that changes, whether or not it is an acceptable conditional use.
okay.
Having said that, and just hearing now that somewhere on the property, there's some drains that present hazards to children, it seems to me that that shouldn't have anything to do with waiting for this to come before the planning board if there's an issue with that.
Right.
It should be worked directly, and the code enforcement office should be all over it. I don't understand. Help me out?
Boy, you guys are a tough crowd.
I'm just saying, this is like,
I
we'll
mean,
wait till next week.
No,
See if
no,
anybody falls into it.
No, I mean, I apologize only because I haven't worked with you folks that often, so I'm not used to dealing with your process here, but,
Well, and let me just say, before it gets reported differently, our code enforcement is generally all over things of that nature. So I'm skeptical as to what the heck is going on there.
yeah, I couldn't answer you on that issue. only
Is there a
that-
way we could look at that without waiting 2 weeks?
I don't see why
You can walk out there
not.
now, the golf course is closed.
I don't mean me, I want code enforcement to look
I
at it.
I will pass that on to code.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, please do look at it.
Doesn't help for me to look at it.
Okay.
In the dark.
I have
one, actually.
Yes.
Just a quick clarification on the new storage shed.
Yes.
What are the chemicals that are gonna be held there? Fertilizers or
Yeah, it's fertilizers.
nothing else?
Is that the same thing that's in the current one?
The current one now.
More of the same?
Yeah, it does have some no fertilizers in it. It's mostly loose material. Sand, that sort of thing.
So where are the chemicals held now?
I don't want to break the protocol. Are we allowed to add
Please.
clarity
yeah.
to the
Please.
special?
Stand up and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Ryan Emmerich. I'm the golf course superintendent at Cape Arundel Golf Club. Right now, we have a fungicide and pesticide storage container. That's where we hold all our pesticides and anything that's not fertilizer. So we have extra fertilizer that we'd like to put into a building instead of, because we're getting more fertilizer as we go throughout the years. So we just want to get it into a building and make sure it's safe and locked.
It's currently being held in an external container, and you want to move it in.
It's
inside
currently
and-
being held in our equipment bay. So
Okay.
I'd like to separate it and make sure that it's by itself, locked, and nobody can enter it unless you have a key. So it used to be in our equipment bay, on the, kind of the far side. So it shouldn't be stored with other equipment. It should be safely put in a building, locked away by itself.
Are you increasing your use of fertilizer?
No, we're not.
No.
Just making sure we have additional and the proper storage going forward.
And the people who deal with the chemicals are the same people?
Yep.
They're knowledgeable in the safety considerations and all of that?
We're all licensed
Yeah,
pesticide
yeah.
operators, yes.
Okay, so I'm not being critical, I'm just, if anything, I want to make sure that you're clear that there is no need for concern, that it's not an increase in use.
Yep.
It's not new procedures or new training required. It really is a case of taking existing materials and moving them to a more secure location where there is some additional room for increasing the amount of them on a seasonal basis.
Correct.
And extended security too, it sounds like.
Yeah, that's the most important part, is just making sure it's secure and only licensed, pesticide licensed operators can actually access it, and it's not open to the rest of, the staff.
What pesticides are you using?
Currently, as far as pesticides, there's very few of them. I don't know all of them off the top of my head, but I could certainly reach out to you on that.
they're all approved for use on a golf course in Maine?
Yes, absolutely.
Good to have the list.
And those will not be stored in this facility?
No, they will not. We have a separate container that is approved through the state to store that type of material.
Oh, so the storage building will hold only the fertilizers?
That's correct.
I see, thank you.
Thank you.
Larry?
Okay, thank you. So, I just had some comments on some of your details here.
Sure.
So, my general comment is, this is on drawing A1.
Okay.
So, I'm not sure you're gonna use all these details. So, my first comment would be, only show the details that you're actually gonna use in this project. In other words, like there's this one up at the top, typical stepped footing detail, you gonna
Yes.
use that one? If you're not gonna use it, I would remove it.
Well, I like to leave that in case there's any ledge encountered, or if they find anything there that would have to cause there to be any step footings.
Okay, that leads into my next question, or my
Yeah.
next comment, which is on that particular detail, I know there needs to be some additional rebar shown into the page. Okay, you're showing a lot of rebar
Right, on the wall
in
sections.
the wall, but you need
Yes.
to show sizes going in to the
Right.
plane of the page.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Yep,
And the, it's pretty detailed, but the typical footing reinforcing you've got in the top, I think you need to bring that up a little farther and bring it, increase the penetration into the concrete footing at the top of the page, right here.
the top of the page. Mind if I?
In other words, this one here,
Yes.
I think you need to bring it up and show it, just below the top of the,
I see what you're saying,
okay?
Yep.
So
I do.
anyway, that's, I know that might not make a big deal of a difference, but it also could make a difference, and particularly about the rebar going through. Okay.
Right.
So then on detail, 4 and 5, okay. So this is, the typical, foundation wall or, slab turned down the exterior door.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes,
So, the terminology here makes a difference because, okay, you've got a single vertical row of rebar shown, okay?
Right.
Which is okay for a basement wall.
right,
But if you're gonna continue to call these foundation walls, then the ACI code requires 2 parallel curtain walls of rebar. And in this case, it would be number 4 and number 5. Anyway, so you might wanna just take a look at the detail there
okay,
to make sure you have a sufficient amount of rebar, comma, and verify the width of the footing. In general, the width of the footing should be 1/8 the wall height, okay? Now, you can analyze that and you can reduce that if you really want to, but rule of thumb is that would be a very useful way to size the width of the footing.
okay,
And then, I know you've got the drains, it looks great, you know, you need those drains, so, and that is draining to an existing ditch or something?
The way I look at it, those drains that come out of there, the interior and exterior footing drains, will be able to, if they go out behind the existing
Yeah.
material storage shed,
Yeah.
it really drops a lot. They'll be able to daylight it.
Okay, so there will be an additional, I guess those are 4-inch diameter,
Correct.
okay. So, I guess you're gonna have some sort of a screen or something on the outside, so you don't
Yes.
get any low.
Oh, yeah, I've added in the note,
All
screen for vermin, yes.
Okay. Anyway, so that's really it, except, let me see here, on your slab, yeah, 6-inch, okay. Okay, 5-inch slab, okay. So, okay, welded wire, okay. Okay, well, all right, so, you know, that looks okay, that's definitely gonna be supported on the soil, it's not gonna be spanning anywhere.
Correct.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So that's it, that's all my comments,
Okay,
thank you.
thank you.
Okay, so,
Might I ask a question of Nina, if I could? Is that allowed?
stand up,
Yeah.
you're representing the,
Yes, Doug Johnston, 2 Dover Lane, Kennebunkport. I'm also the chair of the building committee of the Cape Arundel Golf Course. Nina, I just was asking myself, which trees were you interested in having located in terms of survey? Because I'm going to have to get, obviously, some additional survey information.
Well, I'm looking now at an overview, maybe an old one, but I know there was some older trees nearby. But I think, and looking at this now, maybe they're pretty far away.
Are they River Road?
Because you're here, and I think this is, but I thought there was another clump over here, but maybe not, because I just passed those the other day. I don't think there's anything in here.
Yeah, so this is out between it looks like the 7th and maybe 6th fairways,
Yeah.
essentially. Okay.
Yeah, and I may be thinking of this one, which is close with the pump house.
Is this the little lake you were talking about here that's close to the entrance into the clubhouse?
There's a drain here
Right.
that goes underneath. That's a very serious problem right there.
Right.
But over here, there's a little pipe in this little pond, and it's constantly going in very rapidly, overflowing down into that pipe very rapidly. I mean, it would easily take a chipmunk or a squirrel. I'm not sure what else it might take down in there.
Sure. So, and just as you're walking and enjoying yourself on the golf course, realize that all of this project is happening within the existing disturbed area of where the dumpsters are currently, so.
Oh, I know where it is.
Yeah, where
I've
the
gone
shed
past there
extension
many
is
times. I'm
exactly
not
where the
too worried
dumpsters are
about it.
now, yeah.
I'm more worried about where you took all the trees down on the 17th fairway there.
Yeah.
And that was watershed.
Yeah, well, I can't speak to that, but
It was a very strong drive. They did it.
Well, it's a hole that you can't see from the fairway, most of the fairway. It's the 17th hole is down, you know, over the hill down. And so, you know, if you want to collect golf balls, a good place to do it is where they basically.
that's, some will undoubtedly have my name on them.
Right.
Anyway, and in terms of the shoreland district, I know in 2013, when we did the maintenance building project on that site, the nearest point of the septic field's disturbance was about 290 feet away from that tributary stream. So everything that was done then was outside the 250-foot limit. So I'm not here to guarantee.
No, I was there when you put that before the planning board,
Right,
so I
right.
know about that.
Right, so,
That's not
and
a
everything we're
problem.
doing now is within the existing disturbance, so
Right.
I'm relatively confident we're gonna be.
It's no closer than what
That's
was done
correct.
before.
That's
Okay,
correct.
Thank you, that's what I
Yes.
was looking for.
Yeah, that I can assure you.
No, I think it's okay. I think, though, you need to document that.
Just documented it.
That's the
Yeah.
problem.
Okay.
Is that this is kind of a loosey-goosey application, and it needs a little more detail.
We'll bring some clarity and firmness to it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So I just said, could I just conclude my comments about rebar? So there are some requirements for minimum rebar required per linear foot, for instance. So when you're reviewing the rebar that you're showing there,
Right.
could you just refer, assess it against the minimum rebar requirements? And I know from your drawing, there's also maximum rebar, but you are way below that number.
Right.
So just make sure that you have enough rebar to at least satisfy the minimum rebar.
Right.
Area steel over area concrete.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so my impression would be that there's a lot missing we want to see in this application, so we should continue
I think you would continue initial review.
continue the initial review to next time, and then
Okay.
ideally we'll, at that point, approve it as complete.
Yeah.
And then bring you out for the first meeting on January 3rd for the public hearing.
Okay.
So I think we'd like to see you back on the 20th with all of the stuff that Nina was discussing and Larry especially.
All right.
So, I guess we have taken a motion to continue the public hearing, I think, in the past, so why don't we?
Yes.
So
Why
there'll
don't we
be enough
do that?
public, but
I'll make a motion to continue the public hearing until we get more information.
it's not a public.
I'll
hearing.
second that. Well, it's not the public hearing, it's the
No,
initial
Oh,
review.
no, to continue the initial review.
Initial review,
Yeah, I
yes.
didn't word it right, sorry.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll second that, yeah.
Okay, so, Ed,
Agree.
Approve.
approved.
Agree.
Approve?
Okay,
Oh.
so we'll see you next time.
He's
Hopefully
asking a
w-
question.
Earlier, we'd like to
Tom,
see the more
he's
information.
asking a question.
Yeah,
Yes.
go ahead.
No, please, you're
Oh,
trying to ask a
The only
question.
thing I was thinking as you were saying that, after you said, bring us back on the 20th, is we probably won't be able to get the additional survey information that we need to include on the drawings in
Okay.
2 weeks, so
Well, when would you be able to come on the 3rd of January with that information?
I think we could probably be here on the 3rd, yes.
Okay, well then,
So let's, if
co-
it's okay
coordinate
with you,
You know, we'd like to see the data, you know, for a day or so before the 3rd,
right,
you know,
yes.
maybe not New Year's
That
Eve.
hopefully,
but,
that hopefully gets us time to get a surveyor out there and get the info and then
Okay,
process it and get
As
it
I
out to
said, you
you.
don't need an official survey,
Yeah,
but you need someone to sketch out where everything is, especially the water bodies and setbacks,
right,
and where the shoreland zone is.
right.
And
and
It may be on the original drawings from the first one.
2013.
From like when Pinkham and Greer did the,
All this.
it's
we-
Initial-
possible they may still
If
have that.
that, well, Pinkham and Greer is no longer in business.
Oh.
That's part of the problem, is I tried to take a lot of the information from that 2015 Pinkham and Greer drawing. I don't recall off the top of my head, I apologize, as to what the extent of the drawing was that they did. I wanna say it wasn't the entire property, it was a portion of the property related to where the existing maintenance buildings are and the one that we're adding on to. So,
No, but if it made the case that you were X feet away from the shoreland zone,
Right.
then, and
yeah,
you can clarify where this is with
Right.
respect to that boundary. I don't
Yes.
think you need to go do the 17th hole.
Yeah.
Basically, we need to see the whole lot and the shoreland zone and the setbacks
right,
and where the water bodies are.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be perfect, but it has to be close to.
right, no problem, I
It
understand
does not need to be a stamped survey.
Correct.
That's right.
That's correct.
That's right.
We can use the resources of the town's.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
The tape measure.
Exactly.
Yeah, and one of the things on that particular survey plan that Pinkham and Greer did, that I took notes from, was that it was, the subject property, where we're working on it, was not in the shoreland zone, so.
Right.
No,
Okay.
it's not.
Right,
But the problem
close
is,
to
the
areas
lot
that are.
has shoreland zoning and
Right.
resource protection.
And we just
Yes.
need to see on the document that this project is not near
Right.
those restricted parts of the property.
Okay.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Mr. Chairman?
Then I would say if we don't have to have a.
Yeah, if we don't have to have
stamped
survey info,
survey,
we can be back here on the
provide
20th.
With the graphic illustration exactly as you're
Yeah,
describing.
but just make it as accurate as you can with
Right.
all those things that I
with all the
mentioned.
things that you mentioned are
Yes.
missing.
And don't forget, you need to ask for a waiver for the actual survey, a formal survey, and for off-street parking and loading.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I never like to recommend any one person to a client, but I thought my hunch was right, and I just wanted to Google it. Tom Greer last worked for Bill Walsh.
Yeah.
So you may want to check with Walsh Engineering, who just walked out the door a few
Right.
minutes ago. He may, where Tom went to work for him at one point, they
Yeah.
may own all of his data,
Right,
so they may have that information.
okay. Yeah, well, actually, when we did the project to add on to the barn in Arundel, we checked with, because they were out of business at that point.
Yes.
We checked with Tom Greer at that point, and he did not have any of the Pinkham and
Really?
Greer drawings.
Interesting,
so,
okay.
Yeah,
Well, and Walsh did not.
Walsh didn't either.
Walsh
because-
didn't
yeah,
either, interesting,
yeah,
okay.
So,
Tape measure.
I have a copy of the drawing that they had
Sure.
submitted for the initial driving range, but
can
we can make
We can
something.
do a very accurate overlay.
Yeah,
And
Perfect.
show you the
Okay, so,
setbacks.
Yes.
that you're-
Could-
I'd like
could-
to make a suggestion.
Sure.
Not a request.
Yeah.
That you address Larry's on the rebar.
Yes,
And just show which one you're gonna use from, smallest to the biggest.
Oh, yeah. Well, just look at the ACI code, just, you know,
Right.
that's your guidance there.
Could
Okay, so-
we say, Tom, just say one, I'm not clear on the issue and a waiver about off-street parking. I didn't see anything in the application about them adding parking, changing parking, affecting parking.
They're not, but
Why are
it's-
we talking about that?
Well, I think one of the letters that I'd included in the package was a letter on my letterhead that said, I'm asking for a, you know, an exception or a waiver of this, that, and whatever. I enumerated the things based on the checklist of items that had to be in the application,
Yeah,
so.
it's this checklist and the LUO lists things that are needed, basically. And because it's a conditional use, you really need to look at those.
I'm not aware of any need for a off-street parking waiver. That's,
There, I don't know if I can remember where it is.
you're
It's
making the
section-
point that we would require anybody who did anything on their property that was a non-conditional use
A-
to
a-
submit a parking waiver.
Yeah, a commercial entity and so forth.
I don't get it.
That's why I
We usually
asked
get
the-
parking plans out of most of the conditional uses.
If they're doing something to do with parking,
Yeah, well, they
this
do-
doesn't have anything to do with parking unless
yeah,
I'm
it
missing the
does.
point.
It has
We're
to
not
do with
adding any
employee
parking.
No,
We're not
no
even
new
add-
employees, no,
We're
we're just
adding
changing the
probably-
size of a building.
Yeah, we're probably adding, you know, 100 square feet of paving. That's about it. In front of where the new dumpster enclosure is.
I'm really
Yeah.
questioning us as a board. I'm not questioning you. I don't understand why we're asking for it.
So one of the things to consider, or a statement that you could make, is under 240-10.6 submission requirements, there's a section called exceptions to these requirements.
Right?
And it says where the planning board finds that due to special circumstances or a particular plan, the submission of required exhibits is not necessary or is inappropriate because of the nature of the proposed development.
Right.
You might want to indicate through that statement that you're not planning any parking because the
Right.
use is not generating the need for any additional parking.
Right, and I think that was one of the letters that I included in
It
my
is.
application, yeah.
You quoted that on this letter dated 15th November.
Yes,
C9, existing maintenance facility does not have specifically delineated parking spots or unloading areas.
Right?
Yeah. But you see, the section that I'm looking at is 6.9 in the land use ordinance, where it says basically off-street parking and loading non-residential. Except in the dock square zone, the following standards shall apply to all new uses or establishments and also to all existing uses or
Existing conditional
establishments
uses.
which expand or increase their volume or intensity of use, whether such expansion occurs inside or out of a building, and so forth. And you're adding pavement, you're adding a building. That's why I asked Lee, I think you need to just ask for a waiver on that and say,
We're not empowered to give a waiver. We're not empowered to give a waiver to the land use ordinance, though, Nina?
yeah, we can give
And
a waiver.
we're allowed to do what you just read, what Jay
Yeah,
just read.
ask for an exception.
It's an
Yeah.
exception.
Yeah, I would,
Exception, but not a waiver.
They don't-
Well, I think we're all in agreement that they're not doing anything that requires any changes to the parking. That, they told us that, so.
Right.
So I'm happy with that.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we should stop talking if it's happening.
No, we can put it in the findings. I had a problem with us saying that they were gonna have to ask us for a waiver to something to do with off-street parking, and I couldn't fathom what that might be.
And I think
Simple as that. No-
Jay read it.
yeah, I mean, I think just the statement indicating that the special circumstance surrounding this use does not require additional parking because they're not generating anything for additional parking.
Right.
Leave it at that.
So it'll just be something in the front.
Yes.
Need to be a waiver.
Yes,
Okay, so,
yeah, I would agree with that.
yeah, stating
Okay.
exception, okay.
All right, so the only, we've already did the motion to continue this. Now, you guys work with April as to whether you want it on the 20th or the 3rd,
Yes,
okay?
yep,
We'd like to have a chance to see the stuff before,
right.
but, yeah. And the only question now is who wants to volunteer to be the case manager for this? Yeah, That's who I was thinking of.
Do I break eye contact? or-
You didn't.
You had somebody behind you.
Is that your mic?
Perfect choice, thank you for volunteering, George.
All right, thanks.
Good, George.
Okay, George is good, so we're all set.
I'll be the case.
Yeah,
And now we'll take another motion.
I move to adjourn.
I second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you all.
We are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Only took an hour, that's good.
Wow.
Yeah.